Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Franklin here, and today I'm gonna be talking about the OU metagame, the overused tier. So if you don't play this metagame, I suggest you scram. No, I'm just kidding. If you want to learn more about metagames, go ahead and check out this video. Check out my channel. We're still trying to get to 3.5K subs. So if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, like this kind of stuff, go ahead and do so. So, anyways, recently, Pheromosa ended up getting banned, which was by a majority of, I believe, 85%, which is kind of a big, drastic gap. I did actually vote, and I initially thought that this Pokemon was not really problematic for me per se. I had to think about it, just looking at the perspective of others, and then just formulating my own opinion. I really did think that in the end, it was kind of broken. It was broken, man. Like it wasn't a lot. I wouldn't say there's not a lot of countermeasure against it, but once it gets the snowball rolling with the choice band set or even like the quiver dance set, which is kind of phenomenal, but was less common when it pretty much was a GG and wasn't really great in it wasn't really great in terms of regards to bringing health to the meta game. It was definitely the opposite of that. Very fun to use, so I'll miss it very much. Now we're gonna talk about the next Pokemon that are probably gonna get the suspect test hammer as well. So let's start with the video, right? So Urshifu, this Pokemon, man. Urshifu, and wow. So this Pokemon here, choice band set, one of the crazier sets that just doesn't have any much countermeasure, unless you are a fat Tapu Fini, Clefable with Rocky Helmet, Toxapex with Rocky Helmet, even though Toxapex can't take that hit very well. And you have the niche Buzzwole, and Buzzwole Rocky Helmet leftovers. That Pokemon actually has a place in the OU metagame because of this Pokemon, which is a sign that this Pokemon isn't that great health wise. It's a phenomenal Pokemon to use, but very, very frustrating to play against because if your team does not have a counter or a check to this, or I should say, there's not really a counter to Urshifu, but you don't have a check to this, you pretty much lose from the get go. You're just dropping Pokemon left and right. My favorite set of Urshifu to use is actually this Life Orb Taunt set. Now, this was, I think this was one of Ben Gay's sample teams that he had on. Oh, not a sample team, but one of the teams that he made. It was a HO team where he had Taunt and Life Orb, which I was very interested because Taunt actually makes sense because say if a Clef comes in after taking Wicked Blow, you're thinking that Clef is going to softball or spread status. No, just click that Taunt and be on your merry way, Clefable, because you can't go anywhere. Now the opponent is pressured to either stay in an attack or switch out. Same thing with Toxapex. Same thing with Corviknight. A bunch of Pokemon that don't like getting Taunt. Urshifu now becomes a potential stall breaker and then some, which is a very good utility move it has. And then I always get people with a Sucker Punch. I don't know why people don't expect Sucker Punch Urshifu with Life Orb. That's just me. The other set that I've seen commonly is the Bulk Up Adamant set, Life Orb 3 attacks. It pretty much is like the Life Orb with Bulk Up, Wicked Blow, Close Combat, and either Iron Head or Poison Jab, depending on what your team needs. And yeah, this Pokemon I think should be suspect tested next. I think it's pretty broken. If you ask me, it's not, like I said, not really a lot of counterplay against it. And yeah, phenomenal. Next up we have is Magearna. Now Magearna here, very, very good. Choice Specs. Whew. Choice Specs trick cripples a lot of Pokemon. Cripples the fat stuff. Kiss your Toxapex Clefables goodbye. Now really like getting Choice Specs. Even Ferrothorn as well. Your defensive checks against this supposedly are gonna be taking a beatdown with tricks. And then you got the Volt Switch for the momentum. Flash Cannon and Flirt Cannon. You can also put Focus Blast here if you want, depending on team needs as well. But Flirt Cannon and Choice Specs hits incredibly hard. And I mentioned in a previous video that Magearna ended up getting one of the better movesets. I'm going to check the time here real quick. Good thing we're recording. Magearna ended up getting one of the better move pull update. And yeah, you're about to find out why. Because these two Magearnas in particular, I'll call them the Screens HO Magearna. Usually you'll find them in mostly HO, hyper offensive screens, light screens, reflect teams that support Magearna. Shift Gear, Calm Mind, you can't go wrong with those. Draining Kiss and Stored Power, although I've seen some people using Focus Blast instead of Draining Kiss just to hit those steel types that Magearna cannot hit initially, like Ferrothorn and Corviknight. And even all opposing Magearnas as well. Once this Pokemon gets hit by a super effective attack, that weakness policy comes into play. And because you were behind light screens and reflect, you're not gonna take that much damage. You get a shift gear. It's done. You're pretty much a GG. Because now stored power is gonna hit incredibly hard. The reason why I run timid, check the timer again. Reason why I prefer timid over modest is because timid, I believe, outspeeds Scarf Lando. If you are modest, you are not outspeeding Scarf Lando, which is very important because you don't want your McGregor to take as many hits as possible because your recovery is Draining Kiss, and you want your Draining Kiss to be as powerful as you can so that we can get as much HP back as possible. So that's just my train of thought. I've used this in Hail Aurora Veil HO. Pretty good Pokemon. Once they get the ball rolling, yikes. Next up we have is another variation of Hyper Offense. I have the Iron Defense Calm Mind set. Pretty much is a defensive, bulky McGregor that can take advantage of its massive HP and just starts getting leftover recovery. You have the Iron Defense, Calm Mind, just to get your defenses up, and then Stored Power and Focus Blast Focus Blast and Stored Power is there to just cripple, all of its matchups. Now that Steel types are not a problem, you can run Aura Sphere as well if you don't like missing. Focus Blast is just there for the incredible burst of power. You can also swap Iron Defense for Shift Gear if you think speed is an initial problem. But if you're going to do that, I think you'd have to run Weakness Policy. That's just me. Yeah, Modest. As much strong output as you possibly can. Once it gets Iron Defenses up and Calm Minds, I don't think you have to worry about speed because the supposed checks like Cinderace and Melmetal supposedly are not going to be hitting it that hard, and you can just bam smack them in back with a very offensive move with Stored Power. Pretty good set. Honorable mention is Assault Vest. I like Assault Vest, particularly in the Rain matchup with when King Joe was around. Assault Vest is pretty much there just to sponge the special attacks if you don't like running Blissey and all that good stuff. Assault Vest McGregor does the job as well. 4 moves. I like Flare Cannon. I like Volt Switch. I think those two are kind of mandatory. You have Ice Beam for the Landos. You have Focus Blast for Heatrans, which is pretty much the main offensive and defensive answer to McGregor all around, including Volk as well. But Volk you're just gonna switch out, like with Volt Switch, guaranteed majority of the time. And yeah, next up we have is Melmetal. Now I don't really think Melmetal is that oppressive right now because we have Pokemon like Urshifu, we have Pokemon like defensive Moltres, we have Landorus, which is now in the metagame. Now before Melmetal was actually banned in the home metagame when Pokemon Home got released, because it was a very limited Pokedex and there wasn't really much counterplay against this Pokemon. And this is before a metagame where Cinderace got its hidden ability in Libero. This is when the metagame was like still kind of brand new, and there wasn't really that many Pokemon in that metagame that were introduced. I think it was only like about 35, and like a good chunk of them were in OU while the rest went to Ubers because we're all like the legendaries and all that good stuff, the usual Ubers. I like the Assault Vest. If I'm building a team around it that's not Trick Room, I think Assault Vest or Life Orb is pretty good. A Superpower is there to hit Ferrothorns, which otherwise punishes with the Rocky Helmet and potential Iron Barbs. You also have Double Iron Bash, it's one of the best moves in the game. It's incredibly difficult to play around this unless you have physical stuff that can hit this, that can take this very well, I should say. Ice Punches for the Lando, now that Lando and Rillaboom are on the rise again. And I got Earthquake because Earthquake hits Heatran and Toxapex and all those Pokemon that don't like taking Earthquakes very well. Yeah. And Assault Vest, like I said, it's there to take special attack moves from like Magearna, able to take hits from Heatran, although I wouldn't recommend you staying in those matchups in the 1v1 situation. So what do I think about Melmetal? I think it's good. I like the Trick Room set a lot, where if it's used in Trick Room, it just either Choice Band or Life Orb and start beating everything up. And Magearna as well. These two in Trick Room are phenomenal. Because one sets up and the other one just, boom, just destroys everything. So what I think about the OU metagame, I've always been a fan of the OU metagame after DLC 1. Because prior to that, I wasn't really a fan of Pokemon competitive play during like the original base metagame. So because it was just so restricting and there wasn't a lot of Pokemon that you want to play with. And the same teams and the same usage, like good lord. But with the DLC, it opened up new stuff. But also introduced broken ass Urshifu, which I think it's gonna be. It should get suspect tested very soon, probably within a week. I wouldn't say recently or very soon because we just got one. Probably within a week or two, we might see an Urshifu suspect test. It is very restricting in terms of competitive play in singles because nothing can really take a hit from this, and you got to use niche stuff like defensive Buzzwole, Rocky Helmet Clef, top defensive Tapu Fini. Those Pokemon are like pretty much primarily like the best counters against it. Then we have Magearna. I don't really think Magearna is that oppressive right now, so to speak. To me, I'm like iffy. I'm like 50-50 on Magearna. Yeah, it's a pretty good mon, but I don't think it's completely broken and restricting in team building and actual gameplay, unlike Urshifu. So, Magearna, to me, I'm like, not really. And then Melmetal, no. I don't think Melmetal is very restricting, like we said. We ended up getting new toys in Nidoking, which actually is becoming on the rise in OU. We have Lando. We have Cinderace Libero back. And yeah, I don't really think Melmetal is that. Like, I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad because definitely that's not. It is not in this case. But I don't think in comparison to Magearna and Urshifu, I think Melmetal is okay just where it is now. So, what are my opinions on the metagame? I think Urshifu is really restricting and might get suspect tested soon. I think Magearna, I'm like, because we got new toys and Heatran and all that good stuff. I don't think it's that problematic right now. And then Melmetal, I think it's one of the better meta games. It will stay put. So anyways, guys, it is your boy Franklin signing out. Hope to see you guys soon with another awesome video. Bye-bye.